Keep a fire burning, red, Joshua representing of a comes out your son. Red. Comes out your son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton massive. Kidaki. Red that. Keep a fire burning, red, and a Joshua representing of a comes out here. Big up Kidaki. Buxton massive. Hey Babylon boy, you going like you like son. Red.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money never, money never, money never, money never, money never, money. I know what you conniving, money. Money never, money, money, money. You can keep your conniving money. When you been a for a bum, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. Now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill up this. A 2 pound note and a kill up this. A 2 pound note and a kill up this. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Tom's TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Beep, beep, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained it me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. politics. You are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Poor People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, you know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. This is, Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you. All right, so you might be wondering where we are, still in Buxton at Club Twilight. That's where we are. So Club Twilight also has like an Airbnb as well. So you could come, drink, drunk, and come in the back here and lie down. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. And the people come in the room and so on. The bed sheet matching, the blind matching, the carpet matching, the this matching, the that. We know what we things in Buxton don't play with we. So definitely, if you want to come and, you know, you may be having a wedding or whatever, and you just want to overnight and just have a good time because you're going to be drunk. We got too much road accidents. So you definitely want to come, drink, have a good time. They have several rooms that you can rent. You have your toilet, you have your bath, you have your sink, you have your dining area, you have the bed. This is nice. I like it. Anyways, to my friends and my family, if you're looking for me, I'll be overnighting. Also, for those persons who are traveling in from overseas, you want a nice, cozy place out of town, then Club Twilight, call them up, look them up on social media. They have their own Facebook page, and ensure that you come up the side and have a good time. Have a good time. Have a good time. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's it.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T and W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
Are you looking for tents to rent? Well, look no further. At Easy Party Rentals, Sideline and Boxer North, we have tents in all sizes and colors. All sizes of tents we have. Small tents, big tents, medium tents, extra large tents. Call us on 622-5933. We have what you need. Easy Party Rentals. Big on tents. Are you hosting an event? Do you need ice, party ice in large or small quantities? Then call us at 622-5933 for the best party ice available. $1,000 per bag. We do delivery. EC Crystals, Sideline Dam, Buxton North. Call to have your orders filled today.
My Guyana, my Guyana, my Guyana, my Guyana, El Dorado, best of all the world away. In my heart wherever I wander, memory enshrineth thee. All my hopes and aspirations, all my longings, only tie everlasting bonds around us as the fleeting years roll by. My Guyana, El Dorado, my Guyana, times unfolding and more my destiny, to redeeming lasting splendor over years and lost to me, and the dawning of thy glory, o'er the long, long night is past. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past. Guyana, oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world I see was sun is pour down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury. For a sleep at morn, at noon, or measuring the crimson sunset's glow. I love thee, I love thee, I love thee. Oh, oh, beautiful Guyana, oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world I see was sun is round. Pour down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury, flowed into a fury. Asleep, at morn, at noon, or measuring the crimson sunset's glow. I love thee, I love thee, I love thee, I love my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. Together, my comrades, we will build our new Guyana, a country where all have equal opportunity. So let us begin now to show loyalty to Guyana by showing love and respect for all Guyanese. My brothers, my sisters, we will live and die here together. On to one people, one nation, one destiny. For harmonious living, cooperation will be forever. In work and play as we live as proud Guyanese. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. Well, it's time we settle all the racials in the interior. Our natural resources are there in great quantity. And we will do farming and establish jobs by the border. We'll grow more food so we could fill all Guyanese. My greatest desire is to serve my country, Guyana, and sincerely help Guyana to move along. Our government asks us, and we study hard and we learn the things that will help Guyana to become strong. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. To help develop Guyana the free. We hail the Guyana, our country of home, proud coast union.
If my love wasn't here with me tonight, I would live with you for just a little while. But I love him the same way as I love you now. And I'm sorry I can't be with you tonight. Though I want to hold you in my arms tonight, I couldn't take the chance, 'cause it won't be right. Maybe when we meet again some other time, 'cause tonight I'll only share my love with him. So please understand my situation. I love you, but I be with you. If I could be in two places at the same time, believe me, I would share my love with you. So please understand my situation. I love you, but I cannot be with you. If I could be in two places at the same time, believe me, I would share my love with you.
Hey, morning, I am morning. It is 7 hours 34 on the 26th day of November in the year 2025. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. How you been? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? How are you feeling this morning? Yes, I know my camera is not on. I don't intend for you to see me this morning. You can hear me. It's Empowerment Wednesday, but I don't feel as empowered as I would like to be. I'm under the weather. I've been under the weather since the start of the week. I've been soldiering on. But I think this morning I'm in my worst state. And so what we have this morning, we have Brother Elton McCrae, who will fill in this morning on Empowerment Wednesday. Brother Elton is a leading member of ACTA and so on and so forth. I can't tell you what capacity is here this morning, but I know that he's going to be hosting the program for me this morning. I called him at short notice and he responded quickly. And so I started with Judy Boucher. I can be with you tonight. I can be with you this morning. But it's not that I don't have you in mind. And so I will exit the studio in a bit. Let me play you PDD, Puff Daddy. I'll be missing you. Faith Evans and 112 on it. I think this song was done in the memory of that young lady that had crashed and died, right?
Goes out to everyone that has lost someone that they truly love. Come on, check it out. Seems like yesterday we used to rock the show. I laced the track, locked the flow. So far from hanging on the block for dough. Notorious, got to know that life ain't always what it seemed to be. Words can't express what you mean to me. Even though you're gone, we still a team. Through your family, I'll fulfill your dreams. In the future, can't wait to see if you open up the gates for me. Reminisce sometime. The night they took my friend. Try to black it out, but it plays again. When it's real, feeling's hard to
conceal. Can you hear me?
Imagine all the pain I feel. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you're still living your life after death.
Right here, ensure your microphone is connected, Elton. Well, Gloria, I've been drinking all kinds of things, you know. I guess if somebody tell me I could put some powder in water and drink it if it's like. The funny thing with influenza or cold is that I always refer to what a doctor told me years ago. He said with medication, it will take 7 days. Without medication, it will take a week. Right? So you can interpret that. If I give you medication, it will take 7 days. Without medication, it will take a week. Right? You interpret that. My interpretation, it has to run its course. You just use things that will alleviate the discomfort. Right? What we call that, palliatives. I hope that's the right word. I ain't too bright, you know, but I didn't go to the same university with your presidents. Yes.
It's kinda hard with you not around. Know you in heaven smiling down, watching us while we pray for you. Every day we pray for you, till the day we meet again. In my heart is where I keep you, friend. Memories give me the strength I need to proceed, strength I need to believe. My thoughts big, I just can't define. Wish I could turn back the hands of time. Us in the six, shop for new clothes and kicks. You and me taking flicks, making hits, stages they receive you on. Still can't believe you're gone. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you still living your life after death.
Every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you. Thinking of the day.
You know, the one thing I take pride in is I know my music. I know music from all genres, all generations. I think I can play music to please almost everybody or almost anybody. Right? But this morning is not about music and my musical talent or otherwise. The one thing in life is that you must be rounded, right? You must be rounded. And I take pride when I see how many things I can do as an individual. I do them fairly competently. You get some people one work for you and they can't do them. Actually. But Brother Elton, welcome to the program and thank you for taking the task this at short notice this morning. It's over to you. You're now the host of Guyanese Morning Time. And so I wish you success. And y'all don't give Brother Elton a hard time here. Good.
Thank you very much, Brother Kadaki, for this invitation. I know, as you indicated, it's on short notice, but I'll do what I can. Now, people, I'm here filling in for the brother who is not well, as is indicated to you. I cannot take your calls this morning because I'm not even at home. I was just dropped in by some relatives when I got the call. So I'm sitting not in my home. I don't have my laptop with me, just my phone. So I'm hosting the program. Now, What is empowerment all about? And when we're talking of empowerment, we are talking of people who has been over the years made to believe or trained to believe that they are worthless. So the need for empowerment is very, very much there. You know, we see little things along the way and that encourages us. I'll tell you a story. Last Saturday, Sunday night, I was coming to town. One of the few times I used the minibus of late. And while coming down, I'll tell you the bus number. It was BEE 3131. The man didn't play no stupid music. I feel comfortable. But what I want to tell you about is an incident that occurred along the way. I assumed he was a security guard because at that time, mostly most of the people coming to town are security guards. This man took in. He had what we would call a fit or convulsions, as some people may want to call it, using a big word. And no one panicked in that bus, surprisingly. People just said, hey, get a spoon, put it in his mouth. The man said, I got a spoon, put the thing in my mouth, hold it there. And nobody panicking in the bus. The bus had stopped, of course. And well, we stayed a while. Surprisingly, a vehicle pulled up. And guess who came up in that vehicle? The police, members of the Guyana police force. And they took this man to the hospital. We need to give them a big shout out for that. That's empowerment in the working, in the making, all those people reacting in the bus. And by the way, because as I said, many of the people apparently were security guards, they were all very cooperative and knew what to do with this man. Nobody flustered, nobody in shouting cross thing. Everybody were in sync with what should be done, how we should be treated, give him space again, allow here to pass and this kind of thing. So our people has that capacity to be empowered. We can see the love for each other. The policemen were black policemen too that came to the rescue of the situation, because other than that, the bus would have had to take that man to the Georgetown Hospital then before dislodging passengers where they were going, and maybe spend some time in getting him through the process of being admitted and to be attended to. No, so the police, who are by definition to serve and protect, were there just in time. And I give plaudits to those policemen, because some of them, they wouldn't, because the busman stopped, people were outside the bus standing there. I don't know. Apparently, well, the busman declared that he knew one of the policemen, so probably because he saw him, they stopped or what, I don't know. But the idea is that they stopped. Black people stopped to help black people. They didn't stop to harass them. They came right away, what's happening? And so it went down. I must give shout out to the driver, of course, of BE 3131. I don't know which, he's from the East Coast. I don't know which village he's from, because I picked the bus up on the road at BV. Now, we have a lot of things we can talk about in terms of empowerment. How do we empower our people? How do we empower our people? And especially so that agents like the Mohammeds, like the PPV Barajadian company cannot come into our village, or should not in the future come into our village and take the ice pass away. Making black people feel worthless for the pickings that they are willing to throw on the floor for us to pick up. But it is what it is. We need to get our act together as a people. How do we do it? I do not have the answer. But I guess each one of us, if we can, each one of us find something positive that we can think of and get ourselves involved in it, we can get out of that. What Sunday night showed me, though, is that these unassuming people we see as security guards, they are very knowledgeable, they are very willing to cooperate. None of those people were grumbling, "I man, I got to get to work, I late," or no, 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 no. It was all about uh, the humanity of that man. How do we treat that man? How do we save a life? How do we care for this brother, making sure that he is comfortable, and so on. Now, there are other 8 things that I would like to really raise with you. I'm sorry because I'm not at home, so we can have a conversation, a dialogue on this. But those of you who know me would know that over the past 2 or so years, I've been harping about the existence of these Chinese businesses in BV, where our council have been bending the rules to facilitate their buildings practices. We have had this shop on the line top of Triumph, well, both shops on the line top of Triumph, where they have built from boundary to boundary. There's one just at the corner where I live, in the street where I live. That is Jardine and Surratt Drive. They are now building. Again, the practices, and I want to know from the people at Central Housing Authority, why is it that villagers cannot build from boundary to boundary? People whose great-great-great-grandparents suffered and eventually bought those villages cannot build from boundary to boundary, even though we own the village. Foreigners in the form of Chinese can come and they are building from boundary to boundary. Why is it the Central Housing Authority is allowing this kind of things to happen? And, they are willing to bend over backwards to empower the Chinese to do whatever they desire. A villager who has a property in the village and wants to make a little shop and build it on the corner of your place, no, it's against. They come and they tell you have to break it. Yet the Chinese are building from boundary to boundary. That is something we need to see. I mean, it's the reverse of empowerment. These Chinese are coming with the support of the Chinese government. They are people who are empowered to the max. Yet they come to Ghana and they are being double empowered. We are not empowered. We are being diverted from empowerment. What should be ours? In fact, I do not believe that the Chinese should be in the supermarket retail business, to be honest with you. It is not only taken away from Black Guyanese, but it's taken away from the businesses that Indo-Guyanese have been operating in over the years, retail trade. Now they are pushing out even the Indo-Guyanese from retail. Go down Regent Street and you'll see how many Indian shops are now on Regent Street compared to Chinese shops that have mushroomed over the past 10, 15 years. So we have to be careful that these people do not take over and become our new colonialists, right? They are here to colonize us again. Recolonization of Guyana is taking place in the form of Chinese domination. And that is not empowerment for Africans nor Guyanese population on the whole. Empowerment. We need, as a village, as a community, we need to be able to create employment for our young people. And one of the ways we can create that employment is by creating businesses. But if one of the primary business focus that we can see, easy picking, is the retail trade. It is being offered up to people who are coming with greater capacities. Then we are starting a race that we cannot win. So, I'm asking you villagers to mitigate against the existence of these Chinese businesses in your community. Do not support them as much as you can. And ask your councils not to allow them to build in such illegal ways. Let your council understand you're not satisfied with the fact that Chinese can build a property from the boundary of from one boundary to the next when you cannot. in a village that your parents, foreparents bought and present left for you to inherit, right? Over the weekend, also, I read an article on the cooperative in the Village Voice. That is a superb piece of writing, I must say. The writer did a lot of research and showed how we as a people, Africans as a people in Guyana, removed that the from the time we were liberated or from emancipation, how we were able to buoy ourselves out of that poverty, the margins of poverty in then by occupying the land, buying those lands by cooperative. But what the article did miss, in my mind, is the fact that our cooperatives existed long before, well, 4 years at least, before the existence of the Rochdale Weavers. Rochdale Weavers are considered the pioneering cooperative group of the world. Rochdale Pioneer, they call them sometimes. Right. These people started a cooperative to supply themselves with foods, goods. They started at a shop where they buy good quality merchandise and resold to themselves. Within years, the cooperatives expanded for among the working class people. This is a move. Cooperatives are built generally assist working class people to get out of poverty, right? Because when you depend on those in the upper and upper middle class to supply you, they can do you anything. But being honest to yourself as working class or middle lower class, well, in this case, Africans, if we're talking of African development in Guyana, you will be honest to yourself. You can start a cooperative. It does not take for everyone to be a millionaire to start a cooperative. You can build with whatever you have. And with this respect, one of the areas we can do in our communities is looking at our agricultural production. We know, and we have heard it all, the kind of rhetorics that comes up whenever there's an elections. Why should we allow ourselves to be continually considered as the people to be fed? We must feed ourselves. I mean, it is known that our people have the capacity, we have the land, we have lands in our backlands, all the villages have lands in our backlands, much of which is being threatened today because with the bypass, with that road coming through the back of the village, it is my understanding that the government has moved to claim some of those lands which are rightfully owned by villagers in some instances. Some instances it's owned in the collective village, right? In BV, those lands are individually owned by villagers. And when I say villagers in BV's case, I'm not talking of only the Africans. It's owned by Indians and Africans at the back of BV. So this is dispossessing the ordinary working class people from BV Triumph of lands that their foreparents in some way or the other acquired for them. In Buxton, it will be lands that are owned collectively by the village. But even though it's not individually owned in Buxton, it is the Buxton people's land. And the Buxton people need to do something about it in those lands that are being acquired by government. Are we going to be compensated adequately? Or are we going to see another mocha where lands were taken away and then resold to choice, chosen friends, family, and favorites? That is what we need to guard against. We don't want have or at least I personally don't have objections against development. And if a road must pass for the place to become developed, let the road pass. Take the land, because that's government's prerogative to take land for road development. But when they take those lands, the owners of those lands must be adequately compensated. But here it is, they're taking, like they did in Mocha, 500 feet away, or is it 500 meters away from the road center? I'm not sure which it is, but that swath of land between the road and the side of the road that they have taken were then allocated to their friends and their people who support their supporters. I'm saying those lands should remain with the original owners. The original owners can then decide how they want to develop it because the road of the presence of that road. If they want to go back to their farms, if they want to establish businesses, whatever it is. But it is lands that should be used by the original owners or the present owners, I should say. Because when we talk of original owners, you know, it may go back some years where you go back to the crown for the ownership of those lands. So we're not going all the way back to the crown. We are talking of the people who own it now by virtue of the fact that their foreparents may have bought it, by virtue of the fact that it was granted to the village and the village then divided it up among farmers or sold it to the farmers, whatever it is, right? So those owners who presently have those lands, they need to see about it. And I endear you all, once you have lands passing along that way, and I'm talking about for those on the East Coast along the Central Navigation Canal, that zone there, those of you who know it, it is the interlink that would have come like from Enmore to LBI Estate, going to Ogle Estate, through which ponds passed. And in continuation, that beyond Enmore, it's not the Central Navigation Canal. I don't know how it's defined, passing villages like Belfield and Grove into the Michael region. I don't know those that zone is defined. But I would ask that people from those villages, maybe those on the district council should try to find out more and let the owners or try to find out how they can get some sort of assurances that the lands, apart from that needed for the road itself, are left with the present owners, whether it be the community that is the district council, Buxtonian NDC, for instance, or the owners as in BV Triumph, right? The other lands passing through places like Moripo, that is state land. That was some of it was Gaisuko, some was state land. Lusiknan, those places, they can deal with that. They can take how much they want for their friends and their family. And I hope that it does not remain only for friends and family, but all Guyanese, and not for Chinese, and not for visiting Arabs, and not for other foreigners. Because we all know that in most countries in the world, foreigners cannot own land. But here in Guyana, a foreigner can come in and get rights to land because we sell land to foreigners. We lease land to foreigners. In other countries, it's not so. No, thinking of China. I cannot go to China and buy land. In fact, if I want to do a business in China, I must have a Chinese partner. So why it is Chinese can come to Guyana and do the and have lands. Chinese can come to Guyana and establish businesses without Guyanese partners. We need to reciprocate. Whatever lands laws operate in specific countries, we have to mirror those laws in our country where the citizens of those countries come to us. Other than that, we are not empowering our people in a significant way. We are always going to make our people the underdog in their own land. We are going to make our people eventually second-class citizens in their own countries, in our own country, which is not a desirable something to happen. You know, I'm sorry that again I must apologize that I'm not ready for this discussion, because such a discussion, what I'm talking about, needs interaction. I don't want to be considered a lecturer, right? Lecturing to you guys out there, because I know many others, many of the people out there have their views on this issue and these issues, and they can make valid contributions as to how we can move from one level to the other. You know, now, how do we as a people come together? And it's a question I'm asking all of you who are listening. How do we solve the problems facing Afro-Guyanese in Guyana? How do we solve the problem of equity in Guyana? How do we look at ensuring that all Guyanese, including Afro-Guyanese, benefit from the largesse of the oil boom that we are enjoying today? How do we ensure that we in our villages can ensure our grandchildren that there is security in being in Guyana, that they have the possibility of being what they want and not being relegated to becoming security guards into the future? They must be able to enjoy whatever is possible from the whatever the economy presents to them. And in that way, their education is important. Their schools must be important if you're talking about educations. The quality of schools that we have in our communities. No, we are looking at a situation in Guyana where if you check a school, I'll call a random village, I'll not talk of Buxton and Vivian, in, let's say, Belladrum, and compare that school to a school in Georgetown, we are looking at a difference of chalk to cheese. First off, the building may not be as accommodating. When I say as accommodating, I'm talking the layout of the building. I'm not talking necessarily of the whether it's a new building or an old building, the layout. Then we look at the library associated with that school, because we know that in order for students to learn, there must be books available within the school. It's not only your textbooks. The child must be able to read outside of his textbooks. He must have resources outside. They look at the laboratories associated with those schools. When I talk of laboratories, I'm not only talking of physics and chemistry labs. I'm talking also of the home economics department. I'm talking also of the woodwork section or department. I'm talking of the allied arts. You know, how well are we preparing the child in, let's say, Litchfield for life, for his involvement in the productive sectors of this country, as against the child in New Amsterdam? All of this adds to our empowerment, because the child in the school in, let's say, Golden Fleece or Timeri, Sus Dyke, and those places are not exposed as much as the child, let's say, on any of our nearer coastal villages. When I say nearer, nearer to Georgetown, right? The child in a school in the quarantine, he does not have that wider world view as the child in Georgetown, because of the facilities afforded him at school. I'm not focusing yet on the quality of the teacher. Yes, we may find some very extremely gifted, talented, and well prepared teachers in some of those schools, because people from those areas may not want to, not all of them want to be in the bright lights in Georgetown. So they leave their villages or communities to come to be in a school in Georgetown. Many of them stay at home and work because they want to be comfortable. They cannot see themselves coming to Georgetown where they have to rent a house, and they call, and that difference may not be compensated by the pleasures of being in Georgetown, because they will have a lesser quality of life. So indeed, we have in some of those areas good teachers. But even within the communities, I'm aware that in the Lower East Coast, let's say the child in BV or the teacher from BV, I'm aware that many of the better teachers from BV do not operate in BV. We find them in places like Success. We find them in places like Monrepo, right? Yes, for promotional opportunities, they cannot stay in one school. But there has been, over the years, that sort of movement to ensure that the better teachers coming out of places like BV and Buxton do not operate in BV and Buxton at all times. They operate in other communities. Their neighboring communities, yes. So much so that sometimes we find children from BV, that is at its primary level, ends up in schools all the way in Success. I've seen that. Or LBI. Because they know, their families know that there are better teachers there than the school in BV. I'm talking of the primary level. So we need to make sure, and I don't know if we can force, it means that all in the hands of the education minister, of the education officers, and demanding that our schools are equitably managed, are equitably serviced, so that the child, any part of Guyana, has that opportunity to mushroom and grow. And not only the children in selective communities are allowed that opportunity. You know. Now, it's all within the theme of empowering, because if you do not prepare the mind, then that mind will be not ready for the task of empowerment when the opportunity comes. You know, I will again revert to a story which served me well in the past. I studied at the tertiary level after University of Guyana. I had the opportunity of studying overseas in what was then a socialist country. And one of the observations I made prior to going to that country, I did a stint of what we call back then work study at the Diamond Sugar Estate while at UG. No, during my break at summer break or August break at UG. And at that facility, they were skilled workers. Men would tell you the kind of things that they can do on a lathe, the kind of things that they can do with the machines that were available at that time at Diamond Sugar Estate. Boom, I got out to Romania, to be specific. I had to do a work study, the first work study situation I got into. And when I looked at the machines that the fellas they were operating, and they were operating in a factory. What I said, in a factory, not just a workshop or appended to an industry. They were operating in a factory. And in that factory, when you compared the equipment that I saw at Diamond Sugar Estate to those I saw in this factory, those in that Diamond Sugar Estate were much, much more modern, superior. They were designed to do much more. They facilitated the operator much more uh, dexterity. They allowed the operator of those machines to do much more intricate jobs. But guess what? As I said, this was a factory producing parts for the construction industry. These guys, even though their equipment were quote unquote not as advanced, their output, their technical output were much more advanced. So it led me to the conclusion that it's not necessarily the equipment you have, but the mindset you have. I seen a tire shop operated with just a foot pump, while in Europe, in a socialist country, right? The man operated his tire shop with just a foot pump. Ask a guy needs to do that, he can tell you that slave work. So I'm saying it's not the equipment you have, but the mentality. And that is why I keep saying about I said earlier about the quality of schools we have. Of course, the teachers must also instill into the student that belief in themselves, not only preparing them how to do the operation, but also that belief. And they must also prepare them into the economics of the business that you're training them in. Because it doesn't make sense you teaching a child how to cook fanciful dishes, and the economics of those dishes are not involved in the courses of preparation, right? They do not understand how do we prepare a meal to be able to sell it at, and make a profit or have a surplus if we are talking cooperatives, so that we can move on in life. So our school system needs not only to be having better facilities, teachers of higher quality, but also the curriculum must be there to change, bring about that change, so that in this oil-rich Guyana, because the government is talking about opening up the economy, investing in different areas, but those investments, I see Brazilians coming in and planting. I see Chinese coming in and doing things. But where are the Guyanese? And even when we have the Guyanese coming in, they are bringing in everything that they need for the production processes. Nothing is, very few of the things are indigenous. And why do we need indigenous inputs? If you have a piece of equipment within your facility that is locally made, then that can be locally serviced. When you bring in a piece of equipment that is foreign to this environment, that has to be imported, in 9 out of 10 times these days, to service it, you need to go back to the source. Whether it's for parts, whether it's for the expertise to be able to fine tune it properly and the rest of it. So we have to start looking at developing that indigenous capacity. And we can do it from within our villages, from the village. Start, because that's the, I've been hearing years ago, since our oil, that we cannot get into our production of gasoline and diesel, the products of byproducts of the industry, because we or the cost of a refinery is too exorbitant. I say the cost of the larger refineries may be too exorbitant. Dangote has proven them different, wrong. Dangote in Nigeria today has been able to build small refineries. Now he's building a very large one, and he will be able to supply Nigeria's need. Prior to now, Nigeria was importing all their fuels, even though they were producing petroleum for the past 20 something years, because they had bought into that. But Dangote has proven them wrong, that we can, with indigenous technology, who made everything, we can do it, right? The first refinery was not an high-tech refinery that produced the first set of gasoline or diesel. With with the knowledge base of Guyanese internet at home and abroad, we can produce a small refinery and have it sustained if we have the will to do it in a cooperative manner. But there we go. We just depend on the foreigners to come in and do it because they got the capacity and they got the capital and they got the this, and then we bleed through our nose with those agreements that they make us buy into. Now, back to our lands and agriculture, because that is the area that I think we can have our launch off from. We can, in our villages, where one family or one person does not own large swaths of lands, because when our foreparents bought those lands, they subdivided it, because in many instances the land, the plantation was bought by a number of people, 53, 60, 80, and so on. So those lands were divided, broken up, and those original 53 or 63, whatever numbers, they have now have many heirs. So it's further subdivided. So when you go to our backlands, you will not find one swath of land, a large stretch, 10 acres, 40 acres being owned by one person. Or though in BV, a very strange phenomenon has been occurring, where one man, not even from BV, has been allowed to file prescriptive rights. Some people are saying he's doing it by prescription. Some is saying he's doing it by expirate, expirate or expire, whatever, sale. Some are saying that he's just been aided and abetted by succeeding councils to take over people's lands. And no one has made any move yet to stop him. I'm talking about Buck in BV that came to BV and Triumph. And a few years ago, he proclaimed that he owned half of BV back dam. My understanding is that the last council, he presented a number of transports and the council approved it. I think as a people, the BV people need to get together at some level. I'm willing to participate in it, and let us challenge Buck. I'm calling upon Baronians to let us challenge Buck on the ownership of the lands that he got, those transport that he's presenting to the council. Because you will find that, no, Buck cannot own all of those lands legally. Because, as I said, there were subdivisions of those lots. Very few plots were, when you look at the original owners before Buck, that the entire plot was owned by one person. One part was owned by one person, and not the back. The front, let's say the front is owned by one, or the eastern end is owned by one person. The western end is owned by another person. Yet Buck now owns both the east and west. And then when he's come presenting these transport, he's presenting them in numerical order. Let's say plot A or plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those people together would not decide to sell Buck their lands. Something is happening, either at the deeds registry, at the council, or Buck got some in way to do it, but it must stop. Because if you're talking empowering people, then they must have the wherewithal to produce. And if we keep allowing a man like Buck to just keep to come into BV and take away all our lands, something is wrong with the BV people. It is something I've been talking about for a number of years, at least for 3, 4 years now. And it seems to not stop, and we seems not to be able to stop it because, as I said, there's some a level of complicity among the within the council, complicity at the deeds registry, and so on. Right? How is he able to do it? I don't know, but we must find a mechanism as a community to stop him. With this, I will be making some contacts with some people in the village again. I've done that before, but I will be making back on, we'll be calling on a few people in the village for us to get some sort of organization to stop Buck, to challenge him on the ownership of those lands. Whether any of the plots belongs to any of the people involved, we will make a challenge because we've been asked, I personally have asked a few people who I heard that he has taken their family plots to come and let us discuss it. There was no response, has been no response. Because why? Many of them feel that, and a little bit land. But little bit plus little bit plus little bit make plenty. And if we can have those lands productive, if you feel it is too small for you to handle as an indie, let it go into a cooperative and let us get some young people to farm it on the cooperative. You will be given dividends. The cooperative will allow you to have food which you know is clean, foods which you know will not poison you, foods which you know you can be proud of because they were produced on your lands. Right? We can have our young ladies producing preserves from these things like guava jellies and jams. We can have fruits being uh, dried for the Christmas cakes and so many things we can do from those with those lands. It can provide a lot of the employment for those young men in the village and young women in the village who do precious nothing when the day come. Because this development we see happening is not catering for the young people of BV and Triumph, as it is not catering for the young people in Buxton, Friendship, Golden Grove, and so on. So our drive, we need to create our own employment. We need to create that niche in the economy of Guyana, which says we will survive. We need to be able to say, when election time come, when people come trying to bribe us with some petty contracts, yes, we can take the contract, but we don't have to vote for you because it's not our lifeline. Right? We have developed our own way of surviving and we know where we stand. We know who and how, what we represent. So we need, as I said, not only in BV to do such things, because I think it's happening in other communities where people are in some way or the other maneuvering to take over people's backlands because it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Right? You wake up one morning to find that, the thing is, those lands are not in our names. Many of those lands are in our great grandfather's name, grandfather's name. So, and those grandfathers and great grandfathers have a multitude of offsprings or descendants. So individually, many of us do not feel the attachment for those lands. So because when you look at the grandfather might have owned just half acre or 2 acres, whatever. But then he had, when you look, there are 30 grandchildren, 2 acres of land to divide by 30. Everybody sees it as very minimal. We can survive without it. But I'm saying if the families can get those lands together, in first instance, we need to have the land titles transferred to present day living people. How we do that is a question to be determined. It can be done, but it's very costly as it is now because you will have to first transfer from the grandfather to his children if there are 4 or 5 children, and then those 4 or 5 children must then decide they will give it to one person who will then transfer it to it must divide whatever. No, it's a lengthy and costly process. What our people need to be doing at this point in time is to call upon the government to establish some commission. By the way, there was a land commission that under the Granger administration that was established. We need to see the results of that commission. But more particularly, what I was about to say is that we need to call upon some governmental agency to see to the transfer of those properties from our great grandfather's name to some present day living here. Because, as I said, it's a lengthy process how it is right now in the courts. I have been through that with some friends who wanted to do it, and I know. And that was not from a great grandfather. It was just a matter of from a mother to a child. In one instance, it was from the grandfather to another. So, and that case with the grandfather, it was one child. It was good. He had only one child, so it was not a complicated process as if there were 6 children. So, but it had to be transferred first into that child's name who was being deceased, and then to go to the because this mother had willed whatever she had to her daughter, so to that daughter. So everything that we first had to get it to the mother's name and then to the daughter because she had willed whatever possessions she had to that specific daughter. So there were no challenges from the other relatives or the children. But if there are challenges, it makes it more complicated. But families must decide, come together and see this process through with the aid of government's intervention. How do we know? How can we ensure the government does that? It's by petitioning the government. They say they love us. They come at election time and tell you they care for us and all of that. Well, let them demonstrate their love for us, their care for us, and all the niceties that come at election time. Let it be demonstrated now by establishing a commission for African ancestral land inheritance. So we need to do that. And in that way, we can start to look at we can continue the process of our empowerment, not start, because we have been empowering ourselves all along, but that will add to this empowerment effort. Right. I come back to Beefy because that's where I'm from and I can talk about. We have in the village several issues that we need to look at. I mentioned just about the young people doing precious nothing when the day comes. Yes, I do talk to some of them. There is a group that hangs out just in front of my yard. I talk to them. But we need to have, as a village, And this can be replicated in all other villages. A council of elders, I would suppose, who would take the time, come together, and guide many of those young people into productive endeavors. Again, it's not the work of a day, it's not the work of a month. It is a commitment to see, there must be a commitment to see it through. It is something that must be continuous. And the guidance that will be offered needs to be in the sense or based on our experiences, maybe mentoring some of them into businesses, mentoring some of them into trades, right? Giving them the wherewithal to be productive. This is not to say that we know it all, but or we have all the resources. Again, we may have to call upon some governmental agency or agencies to assist, you know, because at the community level, we need to have training sessions, training centers. You know, it bothers me when on the road I encounter Bangladeshi drivers. It bothers me when on the road I encounter drivers from the Latin American countries. Yet I'm seeing young men in BV who are of the age that they can be employed as drivers. And why they are not drivers? Because they were not trained to drive. So what I'm saying then is that we as a community needs to push for the establishment of driving schools, to teach our young people to drive trucks, forklifts, bobcats, backhoes, excavators, tractors, what have you. These are skills which are necessary, which are needed today in Guyana, and they are being taken up by foreigners. Contractors are bringing in Bangladeshis, Indians. When I say Indians, I'm talking people from India to drive trucks. We need to know that our people are offered those opportunities. The little young men, those young men sitting on the corner day in, day out. Yes, it's all about empowerment. How do we make our young men and women productive? We should have on the East Coast one or two, well, not one should do, driving institute on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, one on the West Coast Berbice, and so on. Within the regions, we need to have this. And this is not only for Africans, it will not impact only the African community, it will impact the Indian community also, and all Guyanese communities. Because I cannot understand what is so difficult, how long it will take to train a person to drive one of those big trucks that we have on the road. How long it would take to train a person to operate a backhoe. I've not done the training of that, but I know it should not be more than 2 months, 3 months. It's a small investment, but it gives Guyanese that opportunity to be valued into the future. You know, it allows Guyanese, those young Guyanese men and women too, to be valued into the future. And especially in our African community, it will be, and it is a necessary something. Why, as the government that pretends that they love us so much, that tells us every day, tread, dangle the, what you call it, the grants that they're giving to us every day. No, give us training, afford us the training and get the hell rid of those Bangladeshis. We don't need Bangladeshis in this country to drive trucks when there are so many Guyanese around. Yes, if there's such a dearth of of employable skills, yes, they become necessary. But when you have such high levels of unemployment among our people, then we need to train our people to take up these positions. We need to train our people in buildings. You go on the building sites today, most of the workers on major building sites are Spanish speaking. Yet you come to my village or you go to any other village, you see a lot of young people, able bodied people, not working. Why? We need to become empowered. And that is what contributes to the poverty that exists in our communities. That is why people like Bara Jagdew can come into our village and make promises, and people believe in, because first they impoverish you and then they come and dangle a carrot to you. We need to have it stopped. And we have adequate time. Yes, you love us, Mr. Jagdew. You love us, Dr. Halley. I call him doctor with in inverted commas. You love us, then provide training for our people. And that is where I'm saying our elders in the village need to stand up for the young men and women in the village. We need elders to come out and say, look, this is what we need. Many of us are pensioners, elders I'm talking about. So our schedules can be very flexible. We can come out and stand up in front of an office and picket. We can stand up, we can go to an office in a delegation. We have the time, right, to do it. We can have it coordinated among villages. Let's say the villages between Pleasance and Maika, a representative from each village can decide on a specific day that we meet up at the Ministry of Works or the President's office to present a petition for our youths. These are the things I'm talking about. So we need to arm ourselves with these community within our communities with this council of elders for such activities. Because I'm saying, yes, it will call for some sacrifices, but elders must be prepared to make the sacrifices for their coming generation. Because if we fail them again, we have failed them so far because our elders did not fail us. Many of us were able to benefit from the wisdom and the efforts of our elders that we have survived so long. But those young people will not survive what is coming to them. Guyana is going to lose its Guyanese-ness if this trend continues of bringing foreign labor for every little activity. And like the people of Sumer, we will fade away. You know, many of our youngsters are still aiming to go overseas because of this. many of our young people still crave the possibility of leaving the shores of Guyana to go to other places. But they must see, they are seeing others are coming in and enjoying life. So to them, this is not a place for me because only foreign people can make it in Guyana. And this should not be. The foreigner must come and teach us where we are lacking. I'm not anti-foreigners. The foreigners can come and fill a gap when it's necessary. But the foreigner must know his place. He is not to come here in Guyana and lord it over us. As we saw the other day, a preacher man from Brazil behaving bad. The city council got its rules and regulations that govern the environment, right? You don't build no obstructions on the road. You don't own any parking on the road. The parking on the road is open to everybody. I see some businesses on Regent Street will put out the cones, and when they come, when in the early mornings and when the owner of the shop comes in, the security guard will move the cones and allow it to park. All of that should not be. But only the so but parking, anyone should be able to park anywhere in on the streets of Georgetown. I see some people put some big stones on the parapet in front of their vehicles. I know years ago the city, if you would have because grass would overgrow some of those stones, and should your vehicle be damaged, you could have gone to the city council and seek redress. I don't know if that still pertains because some people don't, especially in the quote unquote residential areas, they don't want no vehicle park in front of the house and that kind of thing. But it's illegal. So foreigners coming to Guyana should not be able to lord it over Guyanese. As I said, in the case of that preacher man, he take his pass of it, you know. And many of us have allowed it, taking it for granted, you know, that it should happen. So we need to claim our rightful place in this society. And it can only happen if people are willing to make the sacrifices. There are different mechanisms that can be employed. But one of the suggestion I'm making is in each community we should have a council of elders, which will guide the community as the way ins and outs of behaviors and things that can be done to assist the community. And elders does not necessarily mean old people, because they can be a young person who is wise enough to see through all of this. He or she can be part of that, right? Elders do not necessarily mean people in their 70s and 90s. No. It can get people with brilliant ideas coming through the ranks. And we should be prepared to listen to those young people. No. So, not because you're on a committee of elders, what you say must be law. In the first instance, we need to consult with those young people to see where they're at, to understand their position, to see their worldview, to see how we can make them understand, how we can take them from where they're at to a different level. So it will need a rapport between the elders and the youth. We need people like the Flash Gardens, who I know is listening here, to make their input. Because, as Flash would always say, not make them take them espacio, right? So I hope that what I'm saying makes sense. And we can have this story. I know Kadaki has initiated the BEs, right? Black Empowerment, Black Economic Empowerment Society, right? But it needs much more than empowerment. We need also that social element, right? Because you're talking of empowerment and you don't have that social element, it can be, it can go away because people may see that just the goal of being empowered, making the dollar, but it's much more than making the dollar. We must have the cultural, because without that cultural input, you will definitely lose your way. Too, you can lose your way and become like some of these people that are today controlling this economy. And what I'm really talking about here, the kind of revelations we've been having recently. We know of a man being in court for extradition because of what? Greed. He went after empowerment, or his family went after empowerment to the max, right? And when I say to the max, they did not observe their civic duties in all its facets. That is things like paying taxes, right? Gold is alleged to have been smuggled, and we know of instances where it was smuggled. There was in 2012 the issue of that boat that was stopped in Curacao, Sun, Sunrise or Sunshine Bliss or something like that, with 11.5 million US dollars worth in gold. Gold officially never leaves Ghana in a fishing boat. The government of the day promised to investigate, but until now, there has never been a response to that investigation. Public response. No one knew or no one knows what the result of that investigation is. Because why? Implication. People within the system were all involved. It would have touched on many names, would have been put out there in the public as being part of this operation. We know of other instances, right, where things were suppressed because public disclosure would have meant embarrassment. Right? So now today, this gentleman from that family is being persecuted, albeit in some cases, in some ways, not too kindly, but that is a matter for another discussion. But the basis is that family was involved in becoming empowered and they lost their sense of civic duty. So, in whatever you do, our cultural consciousness, in whatever we do, we must always bear in mind that we are part of a society and there are certain responsibilities that must be honored. So, cultural links must be maintained and we must work, everything must be done within a framework that will be of benefit to all around and not just as in a selfish manner to become the richest person in the country. You know, there are other revelations like we are hearing of car smuggling rings, cars being smuggled from Canada, cars being smuggled from the USA. Yes, and these people are lauded, the persons involved are lauded as being excellent business persons. You know, a black man goes to a bank for a loan, he's told, man, we can't take. I went to IPED back in the day. I was told, we cannot take a chance with you, Mr. McRae, and give you all that you need. Maybe you should take this little. I said, I had to refuse it because that little was insulting. And if I go into the details of that, it was more than that. No, but that is how it turned out because of a man's personal attempt to victimize me. But it ended up there when I beyond him, the bigger boss said, man, we have to take it one step at a time. No, talking to a black man, take it one step at a time. No, and may I say, a professional in my trade. Anyhow, so we need to work within the ambits of the law at all times. We need to work within our cultural norms so that we can keep relationships one to the other and not just go after the dollar. Yes, the dollar is important because it's the ultimate, or I should say, one of the main pillars on which we can develop levels of self-independence as a people. Because if we can create wealth, we can create employment, we can create that sense of pride of, for ourselves and not be dependent on other people to feed us, to clothe us, to house us, to employ us. So we do it in our community so that this our community can rise and be proud of who we are. But we need not lose our humanity in the process. We need not hurt other people in the process, like stealing a car in Canada, bringing it to Guyana, selling it in Guyana, changing the what is called the VIN number or the chassis number on the vehicle, and all these kind of things to mask it so that the original owner who has suffered that loss can never recover it, find where his vehicle is. And we make super profits because we didn't buy the car in the first place. A vehicle may have costed, let's say, 50,000 US, or valued at 50,000 US when it was stolen. The thief man, that's the man who actually went out and thief it, he might get 1,000. You pay a $2,000 to bring it down here, and then you sell it back to cover the 50,000. So you exponentially have enriched yourself. And society is looking on you as a top businessman. Just imagine that. Young people looking up to people in this country as top people, but they are top criminals. We need to get out of that sort of culture. This get rich quick syndrome that has been preoccupying this nation has to slow down. We need to remove it. I'm hearing all these revelations, and I'm awaiting the police force. I mean, I started the program by giving praises or singing the praises of a few policemen. Now I'm awaiting the police force to take action against these top businessmen who've been smuggling cars from Canada and the States. And who knows elsewhere, from where else? I'm awaiting the declaration by the Right Honorable Anil Nandalal that there shall be more requests for extraditions. Because me know that plenty more been a smuggle gold. And we hearing about it now. That some of them depend on the list to be extradited, but well, them are PPP members. And so I'm appealing to you, Africa, in my African community, that do not use these people as examples of how to get salvation, how to become rich, because many of them have tears behind them. Many tears are crying. People are crying for what they have lost due to those people's operations. Many of them have sad tales to tell. Many of them have been causing your children to not have proper schools because they have failed to pay their taxes. Yes, they paid the right taxes. Buxton would have had better schools. Belgium would have had better schools and better facilities, better roads, and so on. So these are the people who have caused us to suffer as much as we've been suffering over the years. So we need to stop idolizing them as the big man to look at, the big man to believe in, the big man who does help me. No, they are criminals. And let us call a spade a spade. Let us give them the right names. They are criminals. And sad again that our government has been lax enough not to come and prosecute these people. Yes, a lot of the activities have been sponsored. A lot of their activities have been known, are known by those in offices. But, you know, I mean, give a break, man. Don't worry, man. You know, we know this. So, and I've been in talking about this, it's not only this present government has done it. There have been such people have been supported throughout the years by all governments in this country. And we ought to recognize that also. Because those of you who are students of history will know, or who follow current affairs will know that such things have been happening and they've been called out. Agencies that have not been paying NIS for workers when they're injured, agencies that have not been paying the taxes for workers that they have deducted, and so on. Also, many of these kind of things have been happening, but we've turned blind eyes to them. We don't look at it because they quote unquote are big businessmen. And we need to stop it. We need to let big businessmen know that they too are Guyanese and they should follow the law. Anyhow, coming back to our need to become empowered. As I said earlier, we each have a responsibility to get ourselves out of this. So that responsibility demands that we try to cooperate with each other. We try to organize with each other in every way which possible. We need to help each other. And helping each other does not mean that, well, you must push your hand in your pocket and give a man a raise. That is not the help I'm talking about. Guidance. We need to be able to give guidance. We need to be on Sundays or whenever you have free time. If a brother has a project, go give him a hand. You know, like used to happen back in time. You got your man got a yard to fence, you're gonna help you fence it so you could then start up in the garden. You know, a sister got a little place which is fenced off, and the brothers can help her fork it up if she does, because she may not be strong enough to fork it up. Let us each one help each one. Let us assist in this whole empowerment drive to make us a viable people. We need to do things for each other. And the dollar sign must not be the forefront of it all. A brother comes to you to do to assist with some masonry job or some, you don't kill it. That one job shouldn't be the job which can make you acquire all the things you've been expecting in life. Because that's the way some of us behave. You call a man, like they're traveling in a bus again. Bus man, because this last week I ain't driving. Boss man say he got a bridge to build, but somebody tell you 200,000. Brother man, I know little masonry. I got call a good friend of mine and let me set things up, tie them steel and do, you know, because I can't pay 200,000 plus the materials to build a bridge. We got to see with each other, meet each other along the way. I'm not saying that you must do it for free, but we must be easy on each other. Yes, that is a sign of the times that things don't happen without money. But let us reconsider how we can help each other as we go along, right? I'm coming here to program time. So once again, I will say thank you for allowing me into your homes on behalf of my brother Kadaki, who is not well today, and I hope tomorrow he will be. If not, I may have to come back again tomorrow. And if I do come tomorrow, I will be better prepared for the session. I will have a computer so we can have our discussions. Uh, when Brother Kadak is not here yet, he said 9 o'clock. Okay, I will continue. When he comes in, he will let me know. Right. So, as I said, the thing to do is help where you can. You must not always feel that you know it all. Consult with others before making decisions. Get the opinions before going ahead. And don't be ashamed. No, at the end of the day, no man is an island. So you cannot be a specialist in each area. So you must be dependent on somebody else to help you do something. And the help you give, as they say, this world is a go wrong, come wrong world. You might help one man, but somebody else can help you down the line. And that's how things are. So don't be too stingy. Offer your services where possible and do what you must do for the good of all. We need to get out of this rut that we're in, and we must admit we are in a rut as a people. I mean, some people are very, very much annoyed with Dr. Jagan when he said we are at the bottom of the ladder, but we are seeing it today. We are at the bottom of the
Thank
ladder,
you.
and we need to move out of it. Brother Kidaki, thank you for offering me this opportunity to have a
Thank you, Brother
discussion.
Elton. Thank you for holding it for this morning. You did a wonderful job. Tomorrow may not be necessary. Winston Jordan is going to be on tomorrow.
Okay. Well, that is what we are here for. You take care, my brother, and to the listeners who stay through my ramblings. Thank you very much for being there. Good morning again. Am I out, brother? Brother Kadaki, am I out?
Thank
Yes,
you,
see.
viewers, for staying tuned. You're still tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. Um, I remain your host, and this morning's program was hosted by Brother Elton. Um, yes, you're free to leave, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. Peace.